I know, it's time to night tight line, it's time to night tight line, what you gonna do? იგი პირველი ანიმაცია ეკუთვნის იგი ჰორორ-შორს პარტის და მას ქვია 3 true, ანუ 3 მართლა. მეც იგი ჰუთერსი რა არის, ეს არის ესე იგი როგორც ბარი, როგორც რაღაცა, როცა გოგოებს იგი მოგემსახურებიან, როცა გოგოებს იგი შეკვეთებს იღებენ შენგან, კაცები მიდიან გოგოს ვერ ნახავენ, კაცები მიდიან მარტო და მანდ ცვავენ და რაღაცეები რა, შეიძლება გოგო დაითრიო და რაღაცა.
I used to work at an engineering firm where I would get carpal tunnel from typing on the keyboard all day. It was currently a Friday, so I figured I'd treat myself to a beer after my shift was done. Figured I could get hammered for a change, instead of heading home to an empty house with no female companionship. During my lunch break, I remember Googling any nearby pub and bar to go to. I came across a Hooters that was located about 15 minutes away by vehicle. I had previously been to many Hooters in the past and always found it quite charming to say the least. If I had to describe it, I would say it was like your ordinary sports bar, accompanied by some of the finest girls who wore their distinctive Hooters attire, of course with the orange shorts. Like I said before, I had been to many Hooters venues in the past, so going to this new location was really refreshing. As I made my arrival, it was roughly evening time, which meant that the place was probably hoarded with customers. I pushed open the front doors and saw exactly what I had anticipated. A bunch of attractive Hooters waitresses, and a bunch of men flirting with them who were old enough to be the girls' fathers. I made my way across the bar, while slowly glancing at the array of bottles behind this attractive bartender. I casually leaned against the bar as she approaches me saying,
"What you drinking today, big guy?"
"Rum and Coke, please." The waitress then begins whipping up the concoction while staring across the bar at something. At first, I couldn't tell exactly what she was looking at, but then I saw a rather large gentleman sitting at a table alone, making direct eye contact with her. If I had to describe the man, I would say he was in his late 40s and had a beer gut hanging onto his lap. I assumed he was just some creep who had a crush on the bartender. As the Hooters lady began serving my drink, I nosily asked her, "Hey, is everything okay?"
"Not really. That weirdo across the room keeps looking at me."
"He's probably just a big fan of your drinks."
"Yeah. Not to mention there's been a rumor circulating around town. Hooters girls have gone missing."
"What? Are you freaking kidding me?"
Oh my god!
Lady.
FBI open up.
Get someone else to do it. I'm about to clock out, pal.
Yeah.
Make me a beer or else I'm telling your boss your shorts are tight enough to see you. Leave her alone now! About 5 minutes after that bizarre encounter, I felt obligated to escort the lady outside the parking lot, and even went as far as to offer her a lift. The lady took me up on my offer as she wanted to avoid further confrontation with any creeps lurking in the night. As I drove down the street, I began striking up a decent conversation with the lady. Everything was pretty swell till she asked,
"So, where are you heading after?"
"What do you mean?"
"Like, after you drop me off. Are you heading home?"
"Who says you're heading home?"
"What?"
"You know, you should really be more careful before getting into a stranger's car. After all, Hooters waitresses have been disappearing, haven't they?"
"No, stop! Stop! Somebody help me!
I am the Mari Horror Party Gold. მეორე და საბოლოო ანიმაციის დრო. და ესე იგი მეგობრებო ბოლო ანიმაციას ქვია ჩაქვია არ ვიცი ბოლო ანიმაციას ქვია მეგობრებს კი მე ვნახე ჩემი მამა ჯოჯოხეთში და ატვირთა რა თქმა უნდა და გოუთმა ყველათ გოუთია ყველათ ხარი აქვს და ატვირთა ვინსი animation-მა წინასის გავაკეთე და ამ არხზე ამასაში ამ ეპიზოდში
This happened to me when I was 10. I was sleeping in my room. Suddenly, the entire house started to shake with a huge crash, just like an earthquake. I was awakened with panic. I was trembling with fear, thinking that was an earthquake. At that moment, I heard my dad scream in his room. I ran to his room right away and saw a mysterious being standing in front of him. It was as enormous as it was about to break through the ceiling, and my dad was absolutely overwhelmed with that horrible ambience. The horrifying creature talked.
In 5 years, you will be dragged to hell.
My dad cried and begged desperately on his knees. No! Please, I beg you, I have a little boy! The being...
ხაშენ მისვენე ბიჭო დემონს ელაპარაკები და დემონს ევედრები ღმერთს შევედრე ღმერთს რო დაგისვას ღმერთს 5 წელს მოგცემოდა ის მერე ხო წავა მერე ღმერთს შევედრე კარგი საქმეები აკეთე რომ ის დემონმა იქნებ რამდენი ცუდი საქმე გააკეთე იქნებ ღმერთმა მაინც გადაგარჩინოს რა ხდება და რა ქვია ეს დემონს რო ევედრები რა არის ბიჭო უთხარ 5 წელი იქ შესუსხლებად კარგი რა ვსვათ სრემლები წამოუშვება აი რაღაცა მხირა რაღაცა და არ მინდა დაჩოქება მარტო ერთ ადამიანი და მე მარტო ერთი ვიღაცას და უჩოქებ ხელ და გაიღბერთი და ეგ უნდა უთხრა
flustered in a threatening voice.
You committed the unforgivable sin.
რა
You will burn in hell.
Then it disappeared. My dad collapsed to the floor, devastated. Next day, he looked so grim and nervous. I was also frightened, but I didn't talk about what happened last night. After several days, we went back to our normal routines, as if we completely forgot about that day. Time passed away in an instant. And exactly 5 years later from that day, my dad vanished. The police handled it as a missing person case. They tried to track all his records and follow up on clues, but couldn't find anything. It has already been 2 years since his disappearance. His whereabouts is still unknown. In the CCTV records, the police saw my dad leaving work by driving away in his car from the parking lot of the company building. Then, his car was found in a distant alley. Only his clothes remained in the driver's seat, as if somebody took his body away. My dad disappeared, and nobody could find him. I had prayed to God.
Yes! Yes! Someone might chase me და ჩემი სიტყვები. მადლობა რომ ჩემი სიტყვები შეისვი. აი ბიჭო ყველაფერი მაგონებს Bloodborne-ს. იმიტომ რომ პირველ სერიაში ჯოჯოხეთი წათრიეს. რომ იცეს რა Bloodborne-ში. კორეულ სერია. რომ იცეს, მე მიაკითხეს. და სამადემონმა წაიყვანეს. ძალიან გონს ეს ყველაფერი. წაიყვანეს სამადემონმა და მარტო დასასმელი და ძულები დარჩა. აი ეგეთი რაღაცაა რა. ხო, ბიჭო, იმენა Sam Dекемберს არის ძალიან ახალია, ხო?
Every single day since then, to find my dad. I swore I would do anything if I could see him at least once. Even if he couldn't come back to me just once, I would be fine.
სიზმარში ნახავ.
I prayed over and over, asking if he was still alive and where he was. Every night I prayed and cried myself to sleep. And last night I had a dream. That mysterious being showed up, and this time in front of me. It was the exact same one I saw years ago. He said to me,
Come with me.
Hello?
I want to see where your father is.
It took my hand and brought me outside. Immediately after stepping outside, the environment completely changed. It was hell, with boiling lava and sharp penetrating screams of millions of people. It was too hot, and I felt my body was burning in the fire. Because of ear-splitting cries and screams, I couldn't step forward anymore. And there, I saw my dad standing in the middle of hell. He stared at me with wide open eyes, not saying a word. Right in the middle of chaos full of endless pain, he gazed at me with eyes filled with pain and agony. I wailed, calling him, but no matter how loud I shouted, he didn't answer. He was just gazing at me, suffering in enormous pain. The mysterious being standing next to me said,
Your father killed an innocent person 2 years before you were born.
Oh my god.
That is the reason why he's here with me. In hell.
I couldn't believe that. I started to run to my dad, but at that moment I awoke from my sleep. I was awake, but I still felt the sizzling heat all over my body, and its pain. After that dream, I didn't look for him anymore, and I didn't pray anymore. I think it might just be a silly dream, but I can't forget that heat, those horrifying screams, and my dad's eyes, because all of it seemed so real. I don't know why, but I feel like my dad is in hell. If you are interested in stories about hell, I recommend you read the webtoon called Hellbound. This is a very interesting webcomic about hell. Check out the link in the description below.
Hellbound. რა თქმა უნდა. ხო გითხარით Hellbound-ზე არის მეთქი. არა, ბიჭო, მარა. ბრავო. Happy რა თქვა აი. მაგარი ვარ. That was freaking kaboom. დროიდი მომდაიდება. ნეტალოს მე მეოთხე ნაწილი ძალიან მომდაიდება.